talking unless y'all giving me land and 2,000 or more every week. You hear me?
I'm not talking unless y'all giving me likes, commenting, and subscribing. You hear me? Okay. Well, hey, B. Listen, we have to get our intro out of the way. I always have to get the intro out of the way, but I wanted to come to you guys on a more serious note because I learned about this story on yesterday, and it's regarding these twin brothers here in Georgia. I learned about the story yesterday, and it was very peculiar to me, very suspicious to me. And by the end of that night, I ended up getting a ad, right, on Twitter from a subby, and I was glad to have received that ad, even though I was already aware of the story, because it lets me know that more people are learning about the situation. And I definitely want to make sure that I also put it out there. All right. So these two young men that you see here, their name is, and I hope I say it correctly, so please forgive me, Quadir and Nazir Lewis. All right. From my understanding, they were supposed to be taking a flight. I think they were supposed to be going to Boston, I believe. And okay. Okay, yes. So they were supposed to be catching a flight to Boston. I'm not sure of the time frame, but we are going to get into news reports and news, stories and everything. But these two twin brothers were supposed to be catching a flight to Boston. And unfortunately, 24 hours later, they were found dead, both together found dead, and you guys wouldn't believe where they were found dead: at the top of a mountain. Now the police are saying that it was unaliving and an unaliving, meaning it was a murder, like, okay, I clap you, then I clap myself type of situation. But something about it just does not make sense, because I believe they lived in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and where their bodies were found was very far. I think it could have been over an hour or so away from them, more so closer to, I believe, the South Carolina, North Carolina. So one of those Carolinas, I think it was South Carolina, but it was more so closer, all right, to that side. And the parents and the family, like, including me, I'm just confused, because I'm like, if they're supposed to be catching a flight to Boston, why are they found a day later somewhere else, completely somewhere else? Especially if they may have been talking about going to Boston. They were super excited about going to Boston. What the hell could have happened? They're saying a mystery is unfolding on Bell Mountain in Towns County after the bodies of twin brothers from Lawrenceville were discovered nearly 90 miles away from their home. The GBI is initially treating the case as a murder suicide, but the victim's family is pushing back, saying that explanation does not add up. And I have to agree 1000%. It just does not make sense. Me and my husband was listening to this yesterday morning. I'm like, what the hell? Something about that not right. And I'm just like, Lord, please let this family get the understanding and the explanations that they need for this to all make sense. Because if somebody or bodies harmed their children, they need to know who it is, and that's dangerous. And I just don't think that person should be walking amongst us just out free, knowing that they had something to do with these kids. And it just does not make sense. They're like 19 years old. I think they just graduated high school not too long ago, and they're supposed to be catching a flight on, what I think, that Saturday morning or something, to go up to or was it Friday morning? One of those mornings last week, they were supposed to be catching a flight to go up to Boston. And next thing you know, they're found on top of a mountain that's nowhere near their home. Like, so it just doesn't make sense at all. It's so confusing. I don't think I don't think any of their family knew that they were headed to a mountain or any of that. Now, granted, you know, um, we don't know everything that our kids are into. We don't know every area that they're familiar with or not familiar with. But some about this just does not, it don't make sense. And they said that a hiker, somebody that happened to be hiking that mountain, ended up finding these brothers dead. It doesn't make sense at all. I do want us to get into I'm going to read more of this article, and then we're going to get into the news story. Let's see if there's anything additional. Okay. Okay, I see. All right. So most of this that we'll see is going to be in the news story. So let us go ahead and just check the news story out to see what they have to say about this. Okay.
A mystery on Bell Mountain. The bodies of twin brothers found in Towns County near the North Carolina line, 90 miles from their home in Lawrenceville. The GBI initially investigating this as a murder-suicide, but tonight the family says they're not buying it. 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn spoke with them just a few hours ago. He's live for us in our newsroom with more on this investigation and what the family has to say, Cody.
Well, Jennifer, the brothers Kydir and Nazir Lewis were twins. The GBI says a hiker found their bodies at the top of Bell Mountain on Saturday morning. Both had been shot. The family couldn't believe it when they got the call hours later, knowing the twin brothers were supposed to be in Boston visiting friends.
We want answers. We want to know exactly what happened to the twins.
Oh, wow.
Nazir and Kydir Lewis.
Those my nephews.
Just a few weeks shy of their 20th birthday.
I can get past it. They're gone.
The twins' uncle, Raheem Bronner.
They're very protective of each other. They love each other. They're like inseparable. So I couldn't imagine them hurting each other because I never even seen them get into a fist fight before.
The GBI saying their preliminary investigation points to the twins' death being a murder-suicide.
We knew right away that wasn't true.
Family says the twins had a 7 a.m. flight to Boston last Friday.
Right there, we never heard from them. They missed their flight. We don't know what happened.
24 hours later, the twins' body found 90 miles away.
How they end out in the mountains, they don't hike out there. They never even been out there. They don't know nothing about Hiwassee, Georgia. They never even heard of Bell Mountains. So how did they end up right there?
A mystery this family is trying to solve.
I pray
They had a huge support system. Like, we know them that they wouldn't do anything like this. So to say that they did this to each other when they come from a family of love and they love each other, they always together, we don't believe that. They didn't do this to each other. Something happened in those mountains and we want answers.
I did reach out to the GBI tonight. A spokesperson says the twins' autopsies is finished, but they're awaiting additional forensic testing to be finished, as well as the investigation portion of this before they issue a final ruling on the brothers' causes of death.
I pray to God that they are able to get somebody to really help them do a proper external, thorough investigation and not just relying on the police department out there. But potentially getting them an attorney and being able to, if they need to undergo another autopsy, being able to do that to make sure that it's lining up with whatever the GBI is saying. Wanting to have that information, just retracing their steps, seeing if they can ping cell phones to see the last location that they were at, then going to see if they could get camera footage of any sort to see if they could have potentially been kidnapped and then taken to those mountains and unalived, seeing who the last people were that were talking to them. Like, I'm really hoping that they can find out what happened to these boys because, in my opinion, I agree with the family. I support the family on that. It's not enough to just be like, oh, it's an M and a S situation. Did they get any photos? If not, I'm sure that hasn't been released to them. It may take some time for that information to be released. At what position were their bodies found? How many feet away were the bodies found from each other, right? I feel like a full, thorough forensics investigation, photos and everything need to be taken to be able to see maybe how a person fell, in what direction, and then, to just piece together the scene of what could have potentially happened there. Are there any cameras or anything surrounding the area of Bell Mountains before the before the young men went up there or whatever? So there is information I would like to know, and then for them to unalive those kids on the top of that mountain, in my opinion, I do feel like and then you want to think, well, maybe it could have been like an accidental situation, and then the other one decided to unalive themselves, but it just doesn't make sense if they were planning to catch a flight to Boston. That part just does not make sense. So whenever this may have taken place, it had to have taken place in like the wee hours of the morning, likely when it was very dark outside, potentially either that night, late that night, or early that morning. Not sure, but something I would want to believe whenever the park is closed, things may have transpired during that time. And I really hope the family is able to get further details, out about this situation and find out what really happened, because that's suspicious to me.
Autopsies are pending for twin brothers found dead at the top of a North Georgia mountain. 19-year-olds Kadir Lewis and Nazir Lewis are from Lawrenceville. The GBI says hikers found them shot to death Saturday morning at the top of Bell Mountain. And while they are still investigating, they say it appears the brothers died in a murder-suicide.
Yeah, that's not making sense. I do know the family, and this is a legit GoFundMe that the family is running. They're trying to raise about $20,000. Right now, they've raised a little over half of that. All right. It looks like the aunt is the one that started this GoFundMe on their behalf. So they said they need need everyone's support to share their story and to help raise the funds for their funeral memorial service for the twins. Anything you can donate would be appreciated. And I'm sure they are going to spend a good amount of this time to try to get the awareness out there. If anything, likely to secure an attorney of some sort. Or anything. So that's what I would want to believe, to secure, the help to do the proper investigation surrounding their death, and not just relying on what the police officers are telling them. All right. But I just definitely wanted us to touch on that story. Not sure if you guys have heard about it or not. But I wanted to make sure that we cover it. All right. But that's all that I have for you guys at this time. Be sure to like up the video and everything. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Yeah, tell him I preach to the choir. Stand with my feet to the fire. Give all the glory to God. Stand in the midst of these haters, I'm silent, nobody can stop me. Just gotta check in my notification, them numbers hit like it's a praxis. Cash died at the ATM, and the ATL, they done made a gym. I've been kicking doors like the ATF, got them trying to clone me like Aegis. Yeah.